In 2008, the world was watching the collapse of global banks. In 2020, the world was watching a virus spread faster than truth. But in 2019, something else happened, something almost no one noticed. A meeting, private, off the books, held behind closed doors in New York City. The names attending, on any public guest list. The topics discussed, never disclosed. The consequences, already shaping your life right now, because what happened in that room, with no cameras, no reporters, no public oversight, set in motion a chain of events that altered the future. Forever. It was October 18, 2019. While the world was focused on trade wars, Brexit chaos, and election noise, a select group of the most powerful people on Earth gathered quietly inside a high-security facility at the Pierre Hotel in Manhattan. Among them, executives from the World Economic Forum, officials from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, scientists from Johns Hopkins University, and representatives from big tech and global media. The meeting had a name, Event 201. Officially, it was a pandemic simulation, an exercise designed to prepare world leaders for the outbreak of a novel coronavirus. Let that sink in. October 2019, weeks before the first real-world reports of a mysterious respiratory illness in Wuhan, China. These elites were already simulating how to respond to a global pandemic down to the exact type of virus, the geographic spread, and the global shutdown. Coincidence? Some call it foresight, others call it a warning. Because what they discussed was more than public health, it was control. In the simulation, media was flagged as a threat vector. Misinformation code for unapproved narratives was treated like a virus itself. They strategized on how to silence dissent, coordinate censorship, and centralize messaging. They role-played how to convince citizens to comply with lockdowns, vaccines, digital ID systems, and how to use big tech as the enforcer. Facebook, Google, and Twitter were all represented, and they weren't just predicting how the world would react. They were deciding it. What if this wasn't about preparedness? What if it was about planning? Because just 2 months later, December 2019, the real virus emerged. Almost identical to the simulation, governments fell in line, cities went dark. The world's economy was flipped overnight, and just like in the simulation, only a handful of companies and figures emerged with more power than ever before. Pharmaceutical giants made billions. Tech firms became surveillance arms. Banks rolled out digital wallets, and citizens. They got used to being tracked, scanned, locked down. It was the perfect stress test, not of our health systems, but of our obedience. Still think that meeting was just a coincidence? Let's rewind even further. In June 2001, a similar simulation was held. Dark winter mock bioterror scenario involving a smallpox outbreak in the U.S. 3 months later, 9/11s, followed by anthrax attacks. New policies, new wars, new surveillance laws. Each time, a private simulation, each time, followed by real-world events that mirrored the script. And each time, the result was the same: more power to the few, less freedom for the many. Event 201 wasn't just a simulation, it was a signal. To insiders, it outlined how the next era would unfold, not through military coups or overt dictatorships, but through crisis management. Because the new way to reshape society, isn't by force, it's by fear. Create the right emergency, and people will beg for control. Lockdowns, necessary. Tracking apps, responsible. Speech restrictions, for your safety. This isn't theory, it's happened. And it all traces back to that one private meeting, the day the script was handed out. You weren't invited, you didn't get to vote, but your life was rewritten anyway. But here's where it gets darker. Event 201 wasn't just about the virus, it was about what comes after. In their own reports, they discussed building a new normal, one based on centralized digital identities, permanent public health monitoring, cashless economies, and global governance led by public-private partnerships. In other words, a world where you're watched, categorized, and controlled, not by elected officials, but by unelected alliances of tech CEOs, NGOs, and global institutions. Sound extreme? It's already happening. In 2023, the WHO proposed a global pandemic treaty giving it the power to dictate lockdowns, travel bans, and vaccine mandates to all member nations. A global authority over national laws. In parallel, the WEF continues pushing for digital passports, carbon tracking, and AI-powered citizen scores. The infrastructure is being built right now, and most people are cheering it on, thinking it's for their own good. Because that's how powerful the illusion is. This isn't about health. It's about hierarchy, not about saving lives, but about deciding whose life gets saved, and the decision in being made in public. It's made in rooms like the one on that October day, where private meetings determine public futures, where the rules are written before the game begins, and by the time you notice, you've already lost. So, what does this all mean? It means the world you're living in wasn't born from chaos, it was crafted. And if you're waiting for normal to return, you've missed the point. Because the meeting wasn't about ending the world, it was about remaking it. And whether you're ready or not, the next meeting has already happened, you just weren't invited. Again,